Okay, everybody, I'm back. But you're not back. I'm alone. Here, let me quickly look and make sure I can see the chat, and I can. I'm going to move OBS over a little bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is the beeping and the hotkeys I had assigned to my various scenes. So I have a hotkey for like full screen camera. Yay, so there's full screen camera, and and I have a hotkey for this, I have a hotkey for this, and then me like this. But all those hotkeys stop working after a while. So I did a little search while I was gone. By the way, I was gone for so long because I took a nap. And I need more water. Doctor's orders. I have to drink more water. It's actually true. Otherwise, it looks like I have kidney problems. Okay. Anyway, so I looked up the hotkey situation, and look, I'm not the only one. So I'm. There are other people with the same problem. So I have tried all three options of hotkeys in the advanced setting and still having problems. For some period of time, everything works fine. Then it stops. Pressing the assigned hotkey will cause the relevant action, say, show image X, but pressing it again will not toggle the image off, and then more and more. And then more people saying, yeah, me too. And then all kinds of other suggestions and whatnot. So I think I'm probably going to not be using the hotkeys. Let me put that over here. Actually, no. I want to see that I am live streaming, so that's good. Okay, so have I set this to do not disturb? I have, so that's good. I've got everything set to do not disturb. I've got all the drives turned off. Good. I'm just doing my checklist. Okay, what else do we have here? So I've got the scene, and I finished doing more tracking for the features on my face. I said, hey, don't track the chin because that's not really a fixed thing. But sometimes we get footage that doesn't have the ideal, it's just not ideal in some way. And so the chin, I looked at the footage, and it's not like I'm going, oh my God, and like my chin's moving. All I'm doing is just like have this rigid face, facial expression. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to track the chin. And then I placed all of my, here's another thing I want to point out. I keep trying to report this as a bug. It's not really a SynthEyes bug, but sometimes with Mac OS, in SynthEyes, I will get this flickery screen when I manipulate, and you can see it. It's really obvious. The way to solve that is to close that floating perspective window and just reopen it. And now, hey, look, no more flickering. Not really a SynthEyes bug, I don't think. I think it might be a Mac OS bug. I feel like I've seen it in another app, but like one time. But something's triggering that. And I really only see it with floating windows in SynthEyes. So the whole display never flickers like that. It's always just a floating window. Nevertheless, okay, so I have all my trackers, and so here's my chin tracker. You can see that down there. And then you can see my nose tracker. Let's go to a later frame where we can see things more clearly in the photography. And then here's my ear, and then that's on that ear. And then I've got one for this ear. So let's orbit around a little bit. That's this tracker, so you can see that has been placed properly. So everything looks like it's good, so I think we can go right into the solving at this point. So let me close this perspective window. I had this open earlier. Let's close that. Don't need that anymore. This is version 4 of the scene. I am going to now save as, and I'm going to overwrite version 5 because I've tested this to make sure that it actually works before bothering you. Hey, welcome back. I am back. Replace. So I want to also say one other thing before I continue. Let's do screen right, me center. I would like to make this more interactive. I know that there are platforms out there that will allow you to do a simultaneous stream to multiple platforms. A platform that will allow you to, anyway, I think you get it. What I'd like to do is just have more interaction. I'd almost like this to be like a Zoom call with a whole bunch of people in it. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to pay for Zoom, so I can do that because I have tons of medical bills. So literally every penny that I can goes to pay medical bills because I live in the United States. The greatest country in the world. With the best medical system. Anyway. So if anybody has any ideas about that, please, feel free to put those in the comments. I would love to hear those because I really do. I'll share your channel on Discord. Please do. I would love that. And I think that I can stream to like Discord and to YouTube and wherever else. But again, I'd like that interaction. I'd just like people to chime in with questions because I'm much better at answering questions. It keeps me on target. Okay, enough of that. Let's go to this. Let's go back to this. Let's actually go to the full screen. Sorry, the screen right clean. I changed my mind. You get to watch me take another drink of water. Doctor's orders. Okay. All right. So we have all of our trackers properly positioned. Let's go to the solver room and let's set some things up. So the first thing I'm going to do in the solver room is I'm going to make sure that in the hierarchy view that my camera 1 is disabled. I wish I could hide some things from the hierarchy view here, like selectively, because the splines and the garbage masks and whatnot from MaskML, I'd like to collapse those, but also keep showing the trackers. Just be a little more organized, that's all. This is my object. Let's rename it. So I double click it to rename object head. This is my head mesh, which is parented to the object. Here are all my trackers. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trackers. For the Curse of Bridge Hollow, I did 8 trackers. But for this, I'm only going to do 7. And one other thing I'm going to bring this up. I told you that I was going to step away and then, all y'all should get a sandwich or something or take a nap or watch a movie and then come back. I took a nap. But then when I came back to tracking to finish up I think we did 2 trackers. To do the other 5 trackers, I spent 40 minutes. So a little over 10 minutes per tracker, even though it was like keyframe every frame. So when you get into this and when you get good at this, you can get really, really fast. Okay, enough of that. Screen right clean. Okay, so here we go. I have 5 selected, so it's always keeping the what's it keeping centered? It's keeping something centered. Let me turn that off. Actually, I didn't have it off. The camera was just moving. All good. Now my head is centered. Be that all as it may, let's make sure that the camera is disabled. The object is set to auto. We have all of our trackers placed on our mesh, meaning that if we select any one of the trackers in here, doesn't matter. That tracker has a seed position right in this region of the screen, and it's set to lock point. That is a constraint. Let's look at our constraints in the window floating constraint points view. Drag that over here. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trackers, all with constraints, and they're all locked. So locked to these locations. So let's close that. We don't need that anymore. And one last thing. So when we do a solve, even though the camera is set to disabled, we are still calculating the lens distortion. And we do not want to calculate the lens distortion anymore. Synthesize has already done that for the camera. So I'm going to turn those off. I can right click and it'll set it back to manual, or if I forward click, it will just cycle me through until I hit manual. We'll go through all of these some other time. Like you could calculate, you get animated keys, you can animate by frame, manual, but we're gonna, deal with manual and calculate for now. So now I'm gonna close this. I almost feel like when you set all of these to manual, this more button is highlighted blue. I kind of feel like it shouldn't be highlighted blue because I'm not calculating anything, but at the same time, there are values in here. So inside my brain, I short circuit a little bit. No big deal. I mean, it's fine that it's highlighted blue. You just have to know that. Okay, so I'm closing this. And here we go with solving our object within the space. I'm going to move the hierarchy view off screen. By the way, I still have my texture control panel up here because I need it open so I can hide the mesh selection in the 3D views. If you don't, that's what you get. And again, I really feel like hide mesh selection, this little checkbox here, should be in the view menu. Also, in the window viewport layout manager, that would be nice if there was something like a layout manager, like something that would allow me to edit that view menu without making it too technical, without making it so that you have to open text files and edit them in text editors, just for the common everyday user. So, I might not want or have my own custom toolbar, custom, and then I can put whatever I want into my own custom toolbar. That would be nice. Then you can leave all these other toolbars the way they are default, but just have one custom toolbar that I can drag things around and, pick what I want to go in there in the perspective view. So anyway. Okay. And what do you mean by that? What do I mean by that? This is the view menu. If I go to the mesh menu, well, maybe I want my custom menu to contain add cards and convert to mesh and lightsaber deletion, but also reset 2D zoom, whatever. I mean, you basically would be able to mix and match all of these various toolbars to make your own custom list and be able to reorder them. And if you really wanted to get fancy, put separators in there so that I could separate them into sections. Okay, enough of that. I'm closing these now. So let's get to work. Let's get back to work. Texture control panel is it's open, and I have to leave it open over on my other screen. I can't even resize this so that I can't really shrink it down or minimize it. Anyway, fine. Okay, here we are. 8 key. 8 that resizes the view to contain everything. And let's start solving and see what we get. So we're in the solver room. I just want to make sure I've changed my layout to a custom layout. So I have to manually change it back to the solver output. Fabulous. But I'm going to change this to the perspective view instead of the camera view. As soon as I do that, it creates a new custom one viewport layout. Talking about a lot of custom layout stuff. All right, let's go here. So good. So my head's just sitting there in space. Camera's tracking. We're tracking in space. I don't know what this tracker is. I feel like we cleaned all this up earlier. What is that? What is that tracker floating around in space? Oh, I know what that is. That's not even let's go back to the solver room. That is tracker 600. Did that not get cleaned out of the scene? Very curious. When is that active? We can use the F key. Oh, there it is. This is an auto tracker. And for that, I'm going to have to switch back to the camera. Make the camera the active object. It is the active object already. So 600. Why aren't these highlighting? It's very strange. Typically, those would automatically highlight. Okay, so this one's just like down here on the ground, and then where it's solved like out in space somewhere. That's bizarre. It looks like it's fine. Yeah, that's down on the ground. Oh, the fun of 3D tracking. Look, sometimes I get confused and suffer as well. So don't feel too bad. Let's see if this one has like it's got a solved location. It doesn't have a seed location. I don't know why. I really don't. I don't know why that tracker 600 is rendering out in space above the ground here. Really don't know. That's a mystery. Okay, let me collapse these trackers. We're going to ignore that. Actually, you know what? I have a better idea. Let's not ignore it. Let's hide it. Tracker 600. Boop. Goodbye. Goodbye, Tracker 600. So it's still in the scene. It is solving in the right location according to the top, front, and left views. But in the perspective view, it's in a weird location. Okay, enough of that. So we're going to... Boy, just get to it, man. Just get to it. And this is why I edit my videos. Softbox? What do you mean softbox? I don't understand what softbox means. But we do love suffering, don't we? The Germans have a word for it. It's called Schadenfreude. I mean the suffering of others. We don't love our own suffering. We love the suffering of others. All right. So, Schadenfreude. Okay, here we go. We're going to hit the solve button. But we are going to do one thing first. Let me reselect our object. I'm going to do that in the hierarchy view. It's just easier to do there. We've selected our object. You can see it highlighted in these three viewports. You can see my active tracker host is object head. It is set to automatic. There's only one thing I need to do. I'm going to click the constrain button. I mean, how did you delight your face? What was your process? How did I delight my face? I don't understand. I don't know if you mean delight or delight. Please explain yourself. Okay, here we go. We're going to solve this. I'm going to hit the go button. Bam. Okay. Now, let's take a look. Look at that. Let's not even be playing backward. Let's play forward. Yay! The track. The track is totally working. This is beautiful. I love it. It was that easy to do in the solving, but there are going to be problems, and I'm going to show them to you in a moment. So let's zoom in a bit here. And I'm going to hit the 5 key to keep my head centered the whole time. So you see in the beginning here, let's zoom in a little bit more. So you see it gets a little jittery there in the beginning. And if we look from the top view, oh yeah, this is no good. Look at that. Do you remember what I was talking about do you remember what I was talking about with the Z-axis noise that you get? That's what I'm talking about. You get this vibration on the Z-axis of the head. So while the head is generally good at this distance, and when we would be compositing this, we'd be blurring this a lot to match the blur of the photography, and it's right crystal clear sharp right here. But we don't like that bouncy zoomy nonsense. So that's what we're going to fix here, and this is going to be cool. All right, axis locks. So let's open up the axis locks. And we are going to, these buttons are going to be really important. So you get the seed path values. Let me go back to screen clean. So let me bring that up again. Axis locks, it's over on here on the left, more. And we are going to be dealing with fixing just the Z-axis. And you see here you've got left, right. So enable a hard, soft lock in the left, right direction. Up, down, front, back. Forward, backward. And we don't want to lock the left, right. We don't want to lock the up, down. We want to be applying a lock to the front, back. So let's do some stuff. Here, I feel like our head should be maybe a little farther back, like here. Like its position right here is good. So I'm going to say get 1 frame. And what it's going to do is it's going to say the object position, the seed path value, is negative 109 units. So these are centimeters. I'm also going to, I'm going to put me in the lower left because I might need to make eye contact with you from time to time to make a point. So that's the seed lock value, or the seed path value. At that frame, we are also going to, let's bring up, I want to customize our viewport a little bit here. I'm going to drag this over. I don't need to see so much of that. If we go into Window, Viewport Layout Manager, this is our custom one. So I'm going to take solve out. I'm going to delete that window so we don't even have that anymore. And I'm going to split the perspective window on the, not horizontal, split vertically. Great. And I'm going to make this view, this front view, I'm going to make that the graph editor. Sure, Tracker graph. So this is my custom one. Now this is, let's close that. And this should be the graph editor, right? Yeah, let's do that, graph editor. And we don't care about the trackers, we care about our object. So camera and objects, object head. Let's look at what we're looking at. We're looking at the solved velocity. I don't care about velocity, that's nonsense. We want the solved path. Actually, we want the seed path. So let's look at the seed path. We have a keyframe here. And you can zoom into your graph with the, just clicking on the, let's open this up a bit. Clicking and dragging this will zoom it in on the up-down axis. You can move your graphs around. So I'm grabbing the x-axis graph, and I can move that up here. Grab the y-axis graph, I can move that up a bit, and the z-axis graph, etc. Okay. I'm going to select these vertices or these keyframes for the seed path on that first frame, and I'm going to delete them, and I'm going to grab them all for everything here. Oh, actually, I don't. Hang on a second. Let's move the distance down. So you see the distance graph also has a keyframe on it, but I can't delete that. That's independent. We'll talk about it in a second, but I'm going to grab all of these vertices. This might be easier to do in this mode, in tracks mode. And you can grab the X, Y, Z, pan, tilt, roll field of view and points and just drag them back if you have the right thing selected, which I don't. So stand by. That's down here. So I'm going to click on this tool, which is the drag slide keys in time tool. So you can do that in the graph editor, or you can do it in tracks editor. So this is the tracks editor, this is the graph editor. Let's just do it in the graph editor. I'm going to drag these back to frame 1001. That now is going to be my seed position for that first frame. And let's go forward in time to about here when the vibration, I need to kind of see, I think this is probably a pretty good frame. So I'm going to say get one frame there. And now we have a seed position there. And I'm going to go forward in time until we get past a little bit more of our funky Z noise. So I'm going to say get one frame there. And we're going to do one more like right about here. I'm going to say get one frame there. Now we can see this is our seed path. And let's go all the way to the last frame where the camera, where our guy is not, my head is still tracking. So it's still tracking here. Let's do a seed path there, get one frame. And you see, you get all of these nice, on the Z-axis now, you get this nice smooth going up. They're all linearly interpolated, but I'm going to turn all of them off, and then I can just turn on only the Z. I can select all the keyframes. I can right click and I can say set the smooth key so that we can do Catmull-Ram interpolation just to smooth it out so we don't get, you won't really be able to see the angle here, even if I zoom way in on this graph. So you see they're nice and smooth here. If I set them back to linear, you really can't even tell. It's like, there you go. You can see a more sharp angle in there, but I just turned it off. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. And let's right click and let's say reset all channel zooms. And we can reset all the zooms that way. And let's, if you right click and drag, you can scale the whole graph in and out. I hope this is good. Taking out the shadows and highlights to make the lighting flat and neutral. I did not do that. Sometimes, we can do that right in the image preprocessor in Synthesize. Just go in here. I even have a high pass filter set up. So that's just a preset that I have. Let's back it up to an earlier frame. But this really will remove a lot of the flickeriness. Oh, come on now. I had it right at a good frame. Yeah, there we go. So that'll remove a lot of the flickeriness just using the high pass filter in here. But we don't really need that. We've already done all of our tracking. That can really help with tracking with flickery images. So I'm going to cancel that. But let's get back to this. So we have our nice smooth seed path. And what we're going to do now, when we look in the top view with our object selected, which I'm going to do in the hierarchy view again. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. Object head, so we have that selected. And I have basically set that first keyframe to be farther away than it is here. And I'm going to say front back, and I'm going to click on this. Now, this is another suggestion I made a long time ago. Can we please just make the transition weights a percentage? So 0 means no influence. 100 means 100% influence. Now, that's not how it works. 0 is 100%, and 0.01 is, now we're dealing with like some influence level, but 120 is 100% influence, or something, like 99.99, whatever. Anyway, just make it a percentage. That would be great. It would make it easier for everybody. It's intuitive. You don't have to think about it much, but we don't want it to be 0. So we're going to jack this all the way up to 120. Okay, enough. This is the channel where I complain a lot. So it's at 120 there. And then when we get to about here, let's keep it at like 120. Oh, hold on, stop that. Feed dogs. All of my alarms are about the dogs. Saul Herkus, it's my friend Saul. Saul's a good filmmaker friend of mine. He's great. But here, hold on. Hi, Saul. I'm in the middle of doing a live stream right now, and I'm talking to you. but let's talk again, and then the next time I do a live stream, maybe you can be a guest and we can talk about filmmaking stuff. Anyway, and if you want to go to the Matchmoving channel YouTube site, you can watch me do the live stream. Okay, man. Maybe you'll show up. But I'll call you when I'm done, or I'll send you a text message. Okay. All right. Bye. Okay. Sorry about that. Saul's an editor friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time. Okay. All right, what did I say? I was going to say, let's make keyframes. Let's make these weight keyframes on the previous keyframes, so we can kind of keep our keyframes in concordance with one another, in alignment. Master controls, overall distance constraints. So these are the weights right here, the seed path values. And we see those in the graph here. I had a thought, but now I can't remember what it was. It's okay. So I'm going to make this weight. I'm going to keyframe the weight. So the weight is still going to be 120. Oh, yeah. Where's the weight? Yeah, here we go. Soft lock weights. And let's go to the Z soft lock weight. And I can see that up here. So that's the Z soft lock weight. As we travel forward to the next keyframe, which is here, let's set the soft lock weight to 1. And then let's, on the next frame, actually on this frame, we can turn this off. So these are keyframeable. So you see now there's a lock on that until it gets to this frame and it shuts off and the weight drops to 1. So all through here, the weight is climbing. So now we are going to resolve the scene, and we're going to keep our eye on this nonsense. If we look at it, by the way, if we look at it just from the front, the path looks pretty good. I mean, there's nothing remarkably horrible about it. It's just that Z-axis that's terrible. So let's let's clean this up. I'm going to go refine now. And I'm going to move these over here. And let's click go. Cross your fingers. Are your fingers crossed? What are weights? So as I said, I told you about what the weight numbers are, but the weight itself is the amount of influence of the lock. So thank you for asking, because that is not totally obvious. It's the weight of the lock. So the front back lock, how much am I locking it to the value of my seed path represented in this graph going up on this nice slope? That is the weight, which again, I'd say that should be a percentage, right? It should be 0, no weight, and then 100% weight. And it should be like 100, it should be a floating point number. So you can do like 99.999%. So you get more accuracy. I mean, it doesn't need to be integers. That would be terrible as well. But just make it 100, 0 to 100 in a floating point percentage. All right. So now I'm going to hit refine and I'm going to hit the go button. So here we go. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So now that the HPIX is going to be a little higher, and that's okay. 99.99. Too funny. Okay. So let's look. My face is kind of canted up too much there. That looks goofy. and then it suddenly snaps into position. So that's not right either. But we can fix that, and that's okay. We can do that with rotation weights. So we've got pan, tilt, roll. And in this case, it's going to be tilt. So my face tilting. How much of the tilt? So let's keep these. Let's do a weight or a lock on that. So we're going to lock the tilt. This was the original 9.83. And then when we get to here, and there's another keyframe, let's set the, we can turn the tilt off, but we are going to have to still keyframe the weight. So let's make the tilt weight be 1% there. And let's make the tilt weight on this frame be, this weight should be 120. Or I'll just drag it up. That's fine. And I'm going to hit go again. Oh, yeah, that really didn't like that. That was terrible. But let's just hit OK and look at what it did. So when you start putting these locks on here, Synthesize is going to do its best to accommodate. And when you put the locks in, it's going to do its best based on the information it's given. I'm going to have to turn the pan on here, and let's keyframe let's leave that where it is, and we're going to go forward in time a bit more, and then to this frame where we will turn off the pan, and we're going to keyframe its weights again. So let's make that 1 on the frame where it turns off, and we're going to go back here to this frame, and we're going to set the pan to 120, and I'm going to hit go. There, that's better. So much better. Very nice. So now, when we look at the track, you don't get that terrible Z-axis noise. When we look at it from the side view, we get this nice smooth motion as it comes in. we have had to do a little bit of keyframing on our seed locations on our seed path, and we have locked the pan and tilt of our object. And when you do this, so we did that. Now, at 120, hold on a second. Let me see what I've got here. What did I do? I think I've actually goofed up a couple things. So this weight, I didn't actually do these weights properly. This should be 120. And this should be 120. And let's see. And then they drop. Okay, so let's resolve that. Shift G. So good. Yeah, because with those set to 0, they were like hard locked. I don't want that. But we can. Now, you asked about the weights. So let's try some lower weights so that it's not like hard locked. SynthEyes will try to get to the seed path value, but it won't be like full on 100% or 120, whatever that means. Let's set these to 60. So that would be 50%. So intuitive. We'll go back here and I'm going to hit go. And then now, go away, a little pop-up toolbar. So that the rotations are, it's not so rigidly being solved. Let's even set it down lower than that. Let's set it to 25, 30. We'll do 30. And roll, we don't want the roll. If you adjust the top, it'll adjust all of them. Position, rotation, that's how you can do that. Okay. And we've set it to 30 now. And so now over time, it's going to be at 30. And then when it gets to here, we also want it to be at 30. And we want this one to be at 30. And then it's going to drop from 30 down to 1 over that period of time. So let's shift G. You see our HPICs dropped for the object solution because now we're giving it more freedom to solve. Up and down body mechanics, yeah, yes. A little sine wave action. But this is giving us much more realistic type results. Let's zoom this out. I'm going to hit right click on Pan 2D there. I'm going to deselect my object. And let's go into the 3D view and just do perspective and get this out of the way. So now when we look at this, yeah, that's not bad. Let's go view normal speed. There we go, in slow motion. So that track is super good. And we didn't use any filtering. We didn't filter our path afterward. That's what you want to avoid. You want to really avoid doing the those path, like filtering your paths. And what do I mean by that? In the solver room, you get this filtering control, and you can filter these axes, and you can do it by frequency and hertz. I'm not sure how I feel about doing that in hertz. Like how many hertz are there in a second? Do you happen to know? I know. I mean, but I don't think people really think in terms of hertz, especially if you're doing like visual effects, or if you're tracking, or if you're an animator. We typically think in keyframes. At the same time, I also think that the whole keyframe system, if I was going to design a 3D animation app from the ground up at this point in time, I wouldn't have keyframes. I would just use time. I would say, make the character be in this position at this time, at 1 second, and then move it to this position at 2 seconds, And then I would decide later at what frame rate do I want to shoot that motion. You know, like reality. Be that as it may. Don't use path filtering controls if you can avoid them, because you've got these axes locks or axis locks. It would really be axes locks, shouldn't it be? Now that I think about it. It's fine. Axis locks is fine. You don't have to rename that. People are going to be like, axis locks? I don't understand. So anyway, path looks good. The motion looks good from all the angles. There are no jumps in it. When you do this kind of work, I also recommend, if you're going to do this, I would suggest possibly doing a, let's bring up a floating perspective. And let's make this be the witness camera. Camera witness. So if we look at our hierarchy view, my version 0 script automatically puts a camera witness in there, and it's disabled, but we're never going to enable it for solving. It doesn't even have an image sequence associated with it. But if we go into our 3D view and we go to quad perspective, let's shrink this a little bit. Hide the view menu. And from the top view here, boy, I'm running out of screen real estate. I'm going to close my hard and soft lock weights for the time being. I'm just trying to get more screen real estate. So here's my witness camera. And here's my witness camera from this view. So at this frame, if I move that up and I move it back, there's my head. And let's move it down. I think these are in Synthesize, these are called render cameras, which is fine. I just call it a witness camera because that's kind of what I'm used to on set. We'll put a keyframe there, and as we move forward, let's just move it back until we can still see the head. And we'll look at this. Here, we might need to make some slight adjustments to keep the head in frame. And let's go forward a little bit. And that's where the head stops moving. Motion in Synthesize is by default, it's set to like smooth. So we're doing these Catmull ROM type smooth interpolations of motion. That's why things tend to not look so great. So let's set the look. We'll look up a little bit. And we're looking at my face, and hey, that looks pretty good. And then I would render that. So I would actually make a rendering of this. The other thing you can do is you can say in the viewport view, I believe there is a all paths somewhere in here. Oh, come on, I know what's in here. Hang on. I'm gonna move this over so that I can look at my screen better. Set as those are all the mesh things. Locked, stay locked to host. Oh, view, here we go. Show all paths, that's what I want. Oh, come on, I know I can do it. Here we go, show object paths. Show all paths. A little buried, but that's okay. And then, so from this view, we can see, hey, we're traveling on this nice smooth path. I might also send this downstream to whatever client. There's some funkinesses in here. And so this is also another part of the QC process that is worth investigation. It's like, well, yeah, let's smooth that out. That's not any good. There's some really clunky motion in there. So let's fix that. And for that, let's go back into the solver room. So we have to fix a few of these things. seems like we may have prematurely turned the weights down too soon. So let's grab this weight and move it on this axis. Let's grab both of these and move them over a bit. Actually, no, I'm going to grab one at a time, so I'm fine. Let's grab that and move it to here where it kind of tends to smooth out. Move this over a bit too. And now, after I've done that, I should be able to just hit Shift G again. Cancel that. Shift G. I'm not really seeing that smooth out very well, so cancel that. We might need to actually keep this weight up there much higher. Soft lock weights. So we want tilt. We have our tilt weight, and we have our, what else did we do under our axis locks? We did 2 axes, didn't we? Oh, and I also have to have the object selected in order to really see. So rotation, so we did pan and tilt. So we should do pan as well, so we can see those better. Where is it? There it is. All right. And the weight is set to 30, and it drops down to, so our position, our up-down position, we can also do keyframes for that. We can also, I guess we're gonna give it a shot. We'll do up-down, but we're gonna set this to 1. And then when we get in here, yeah, there we go. Let's, this is where the solving, so when it gets into the really nitty gritty of 3D tracking, this is where the real thinking work gets done. So tracking isn't just like a press that button and it did it and it's good. We need everything machine learning. No. I mean, yeah, please, make things faster and more efficient, but you're always going to need human interaction to override when the computer screws things up. So that's just something to think about. All right, so what are we going to do here? We're going to go, let's do the up down. Let's get 1 keyframe. So if you do that, and then you right click on everything that you don't need, you're now putting a path value on the up down axis right here. And then we're going to go to there. Some of this is also being caused by like in and out. I don't know if the up down is quite the right thing to do. Let's undo all of that. Undoing everything. I think basically our some of this seed path, we should keep the weight up. All right, so going back to this graph editor, you're basically getting to see me thinking out loud here. Let's reset all channel zooms, and let's shrink this down. You can also set these to interpolate smooth by just right-clicking and saying, I believe, oh, you can't. this is what I was talking about earlier. So, if you integrated this with Blender or with any 3D app, 3D like Maya or whatever, haha, yeah, this is exactly what my students say. The auto button must do all the work. You know what? Tell them that if it does all the work, then they should seek out unemployment. Because that's fun. Life is a process. Tell them this. Life is a process of replacing the problems you have with different problems. Now, the different problems can either be better problems or worse problems. And having the auto button do everything is replacing it with a worse problem because you're going to be unemployed. So, exactly. Yes. I have to drink more water. Okay. Getting back to this seed path. How can I fix this? Basically, here, I'm going to show you another thing that we can do. So I showed you get one frame on the seed path, right? But we can basically, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's just say get. Get solved path and save as seed path. Great. Now look at our seed path. That's just the seed path for the z-axis. But all of the channels now get a seed path, right? So actually, before we do that, let's save a new version. Let's just save where we are. File, save next version. And let's go get. And now we have, yes, get the whole thing is the seed path. And we're going to look at all these channels. And we're going to say the up-down axis, which we are now going to lock at the first frame. And we're going to set this to, I don't know, 100. So now its weight is set to 100. And we're going to go forward. Let's turn off everything except only look at the y-axis for the seed path. And let's zoom in on it so we can see where we have problems. And there's some quantization here. And there are a number of ways to do this. So we can actually take this right here and we can say approximate keys. That's one way to do it. And then you get this pop-up menu. So maximum frames 24. No, I want way more than 24. But the maximum error, we're going to drop that. And we're going to drop it until it's like there. And we can set all of these to, we'll just set OK. And we'll just set all of these to smooth key. So that's one way that we can simplify that. Again, Synthesize should have better tools for this, but some of them are a little buried, like this one. But the simplifying the keys, that I just feel like, this whole, the keyframe editor just needs to be better. The other thing we can do is just start deleting some of the keys here. So we'll delete those, we'll delete this, and we'll delete that. Maybe this one too. Definitely this one. That looks pretty good. If I select all of them, I can just do that by, I think, select all is Control A or Command A. Nope, guess not. Let's zoom all the way out. And then we're gonna have to draw a whole big box around all of these. Shift. No, not Shift. Command. No, not Command. What is the add to selection in here? See, this is hokey. Okay, let's hide that. I'm going to right click and say set to smooth key. And then those keyframes that we deleted up here with smooth key, it's just going to smooth in between them. And that's all good. We could probably delete a few more of these. You don't want to delete too many because you're going to introduce errors into your track. But do I want to delete that one? Sure, why not? Okay. Now that I've done that, and let's delete this one too. Okay, so that was that area that had the noise in it in here, which we can still see because we haven't resolved this yet. And then when we get to this frame, it shuts off. I thought that we reduced this translation weight to 1 here. Yeah, some weights. I thought I lost track of where I was, and apparently I made some mistakes. So that's fine. Let's reset the channel zooms, and let's redo that. And let's get rid of this. So now our weight for that is going to drop from 120 to 1 over that amount of time. Okay. I have 4 monitors connected to my computer, so I don't usually have everything bunched up on one monitor like this. Okay, let's shrink that. And I'm going to now just hit Shift G and resolve the scene. So it resolved. And when I resolved, do we have that janky area anymore in here? It looks a little better. It's a little less funkiness. Move that down. Get this here. I got some weird keyframes on my witness camera. Apparently I was making keyframes that I just don't remember making. Like, what's all this nonsense at the end here? There's a keyframe, and then what's this keyframe? Very strange. I need to delete those. Probably easy to delete those if I go to the oh, that's why. It's because I had the camera witness selected in this view. I should have had that. I should have closed that. All of this should have been done under camera 1. But here's the thing. So when you select, like all of this, it was done under camera 1. All of these paths that we had open, those were all of the paths for camera 1. Anyway, let's get the seed path for this camera. Object head, let's close that. Let's get rid of camera. Let's close camera 1. Let's go to the camera witness. Okay, there we go. Even I get confused. Years ago, the FX PhD had a course called 3D Tracking Masochism by Victor Wolonsky. Some of the things you're doing go even beyond that. I salute your patience, Matthew. Yes. It's all I do now. I mean, there was a time when I did all the VFX stuff, and I got out of that, which I am happy to have done. Okay, there. Let's see if we stay on target now. Okay, good. There, our witness camera stays on target more. kind of ish. Seed path. Where's the solved path? There is no solved path because we only have a seed path when we use the witness camera. That's better. Oh, brother. Okay. Oof. Okay, so my witness camera is doing the right thing. Everything's all good. You can see in the top view, you can see our actual picture camera is moving around. That's nice. But you know, we just want to remove these little hiccups that we have. So we have one right for the head. We have one right here. So we're going to close the camera witness, and we're only going to bring up the object head. And we're going to be looking at the seed path for that. Let's turn off the seed lock weights just to simplify this. And only the y-axis. And see what we can see. So this is the seed path. But we're going to look at the solved path as well. And we're also going to turn everything off except for the y-axis. So we can do a direct comparison. Let's lift that up. It's very strange. Like the seed path up here and the solved path, they might just be so on top of each other that you can't really tell the difference. Interesting. All right, the other thing we can do, let's look at our Z path. We can do the same thing for the Z. So you've got some jankiness in here. So you can delete that from the seed path. And this is an iterative process. So when you go through and you start doing this stuff, let's actually select everything. Let's turn off the y-axis. Turn off the y-axis and move the Z path up a bit and zoom it out. Shrink it down, lift it up. Reset all channel zooms. There you go. You still need to do that. So these values here, and this is your basically your solved value. I have no idea how to select more trackers. I think it might be this. No, hold on, undo that. When you do that, by the way, when you draw over like a line like this, it's going to actually add those keyframes, which we don't really want. Unfortunate. But I want to separate these two paths from one another. And I can't, apparently. Interesting. Again, I'm suffering. Okay, well, we're going to do it this way. Let's go back to just select. And I'm going to just delete some of the keyframes out of here that are, yeah, so you see here, so you got the seed path and the solved path, and they're like right on top of each other. So they're like really, really tight. And that weight, depending on the weight that you assign, that's going to be, hi doggy. Oh, hi, look, here are my dogs. Hi, come on up here. Hi, how you doing, Tippy? Hi. Yes, I'm gonna come up in a minute. Don't knock over my water. Please don't knock over my water. Go lie down. I wish we could see them. Go lie down. Here. Here, Tippy. Here. Come on up. Up. Yeah. Oh, yes. No, come on. Come on, Husky, crazy dog. Yeah, hi, Tippy. Hi, come here. No, up. No, Tippy. Here. All right, Audrey, how about you? Come on, up. Yeah, jump. All right, fine. Okay. Lula, yes. Lula is not here right now. Lula is with her mom. Okay, those are the Huskies. Like I said, in the link on the first video, Hollywood Huskies, if you're in the LA area, that's a great place to get Huskies. Where are we at? 120 something. So, yeah, we can go in here and we can simplify this curve and get rid of some of that jankiness. Like right here. That's no good. Let's get rid of that keyframe. Let's even get rid of that one. And let's get rid of this right in here. Like that can go. So the solve and the seed path are like right on top of each other. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. So let's get rid of that and that. How about that one too? And in here, where are we at? 1281. Let's get rid of a few of these. I'm being a little haphazard about this, but you get the idea. So, and let's go back. I just made, so if the witness camera here, if I start moving around this viewport, it's going to make keyframes on my witness camera, which I don't necessarily want. But let's bring up some frames where there's some janky, you know, up to like smooth, nice, beautiful. Oh no, that's got a little not nastiness in it. So we're gonna go right here and we're gonna hit Shift G. Oh look, I'm gonna cancel that. Actually here, Shift G, and then move this out of the way, and then cancel, and then, so there's some of that high frequency noise, and Shift G, and it just smooths it out. So there you go. That, oh, right here is some badness. Let's, we're at frame 1261. That's going to be back here somewhere. So we can delete, I don't know, we'll delete some of this. And Shift G again. Didn't really affect the track, but let's look at our y-axis. Let's turn off the Z, and turn on the Y. So this is where we've got some y-axis issues. And let's zoom that up so that we can really see it and lift it. So yeah, there's just like, it's a little crunchy in here. So let's delete those. And you see that this is, these are interpolating as linear. So that's also not helping us. Reset all channel zooms. Lift that up a bit. So yeah, let's, again, Control A, I feel like there's got to be a way to, it's like whatever your mouse pointer is over, that should be context sensitive when you hit keyboard shortcuts, like in other apps, like kind of all the other apps. In here, not so much. So the only way to select all of these is to lasso select them. And again, if this was Blender, you'd just go A on the keyboard and it would select everything. So I'm gonna set that to smooth key. Let's do that. What frame am I on here? 1260. So we're gonna take these frames in here, which we've got some jankiness. coming up. And I'm going to delete, like, I don't know, let's do every other keyframe. So delete, 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 delete. Shift G on the keyboard again. That actually made that worse. And so this becomes an exercise in, now it's just making, let's get the solved path for that up. Where is it? There it is. Now it's going to be like the time that it takes to refine your track. Technically, you could do this by just editing the keyframes of the solve directly. In other words, turn off the seed path entirely. And then you go in here and with the tools available to you, like you could use the deglitch tool, for example. That's this little button right here in the graph editor. And you could just, once you select that, you go deglitch, and it kind of finds the average for that frame. I don't like doing this because at the end, what I want is to be able to hit the solve button and have it resolve the scene and have it be perfect. Because this methodology of using the deglitch tool to fix the actual solve is not repeatable. It's non-procedural. You end up, let's do that. Here it looks like that's our frame. That's another one. And going through and deglitching like this, if you get notes on the track, or you have to add more frames to the track, or if you have to change things, you end up having to redo all of this manual work, which changes the result of something like the shot is approved from this shot, from this frame to this frame, and now we're just adding more frames. There's a dog here floating around up there. Hi, doggies. Hey, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if I can. Screen right clean. One of the scenes I had selected for my within OBS, one of the scenes is my iPhone, and then I could actually just use the iPhone camera. But can you see that okay? Okay, so anyway, those were my dogs. And sometimes OBS is cool, and then sometimes it's like a pain in the neck, and it annoys me. What do you think about this? Synthesize, PF track, 3D equalizer. Synthesize by all day, every day. There are some tools in PF track that are very cool. There are some tools in 3D equalizer. Nah. Never mind. They're not that cool. Okay, cool thing about 3D equalizer is that there's a node. You can just write out a distortion node for Nuke or for whatever. So if Boris Effect spent some time writing its own node plugin for Maya, for Nuke, for Fusion, for all of the big players, that would be good. But when it comes to tracking, no. I have a friend who worked for this big VFX company. I would say his name, but maybe he wouldn't want me to say his name. But he said, in order to make SynthEyes as good as PF Track, you would have to cripple SynthEyes. So that's how I feel about that. Like nothing else compares. That's all. Okay, so anyway, I think our track is good here, and I think that you've seen me do enough that if you got to a point where you're like, okay, I've got some glitches in my track and, you know, some little janky parts, you should understand enough about the, and that's what he said, it's a quote. And cripple as a verb is like a perfectly valid verb in the English language. As an adjective, definitely do not use that word because super cringe. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so it's from a Boris Effects interview. No, I think I was quoting him in that Boris Effects interview. I frequently tell people that quote. I'm gonna get permission from him someday to like, hey, do you want attribution for this? Because it's brilliant, it's genius. But you really would have to like, you know, just cut SynthEyes off at the knees and ruin so much of it to make it as good as PF Track, not PF Track, as 3D Equalizer. That's not to say that 3D Equalizer can't be used, and it is used on big movies. But boy, you know, if I'm going to get a track done on a schedule, or I'm going to get a huge number of shots done, SynthEyes is unbeatable. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about the axis locks, about filtering, about tracking in general? Because more people have joined the chat. Hey, Hatem. So Tippy's not feeling it. Hatem has joined the chat. He is unbelievably good. He's maybe, he's actually a member of the Matchmoving company team. And when it comes to 2D tracking and solving and tracking in general, I mean, he's like the top shelf. So hi. Thank you for joining. What else? As I said earlier, I really would love to make this more interactive. So if anybody has any ideas about how to make these live streams more interactive so that more people can participate, not just in text, but also maybe, you know, like you would on Zoom, like, so, you know, everybody can chime in. That would be great. Atom is the man. He really is. Anybody who would have him on their team is way more lucky than in many ways than they deserve. Okay, so here we go. Hey, and this is nice because you can now see my little witness camera up here. Let's go into SynthEyes. Let's go into the scene settings. Edit scene settings, and we're going to go camera size. Let's move that up a little bit. And so now we see our witness camera in the shot following me. That's always fun. Oh, here's one more thing. Let's do one more thing before I'm done. And this is maybe on Discord. I was talking about this earlier. I know that there's a means of streaming to multiple platforms simultaneously. So like YouTube and Discord and other places. I have some research to do. I'm going to mention one other thing before I finish up doing what I was going to show you. I'm also wearing retainers for my teeth because once you have head and neck cancer and you get radiation therapy, you can get cavities a lot more easily. And my teeth were so janky that I needed to straighten them more so that I could floss better. So if I sound funny, I still have 2 more weeks of retainers, and then maybe I'll start not wearing them. Okay, enough of that. So this is the last thing that I'm going to show you. Synth Eyes, like I said, I want Synth Eyes to have better animation tools. So let's go file, let's save the next version so we can always go back. You sound fine. I do generally, but I was going back yesterday and re-listening or re-watching the video I recorded yesterday, and I sound like I have a little bit of a lisp. And it's because of the retainer, or because of the aligners. So, all right, let's do this. Now, like I said, I want Synth Eyes to have better animation tools. Now, there are a few ways we can do this. Let's go to just to the, let's go to the 3D room. And let's zoom out a little bit. We're going to have to hand animate my head going off screen. So I'm going to move forward 5 frames, 6 frames. Yeah, let's go back to the last keyframe, to this frame. This is the last frame of the animation. And let's go forward 4 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm now going to hand animate this in Synth Eyes. And this would be the last thing I would be doing on a shot. So I might do this kind of thing. And you may have to do this. The other thing that I might do, as I said yesterday, sometimes depending on what I'm doing, I might set my my mesh to black, and then I might turn off solid meshes, so I can now see what I'm doing a little better for my hand animation. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not quite on target here. So the thing you can do, and also if you're like, if on that last frame, like here it's good. Here we're pretty good. Where your silhouette doesn't match perfectly, that is really dependent on where you put your 2D trackers. So if your 2D tracker and your position for your placed tracker aren't great, you may have to replace the tracker. And if you replace the tracker and then you hit solve, then it'll kind of move into position and it'll be fine. But if you did a bunch of hand animation to smooth out curves, all that is going to go away, which is why I suggest dealing with it in the solver, in the axis locks. But, you know, this isn't really, we're not going to do this for a movie. I know you're making it intentionally difficult, but if we add like 4 marks on the forehead, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It'll absolutely make it easier. But I don't ever get control over that. Unless I'm on set. Sorry. Unless I'm on set and I'm doing the visual effects supervision myself. And when I do the visual effects supervision myself, I'm always thinking of like, okay, so I can put markers on this guy, on his face or whatever, but that's going to have to be painted out because I've done everything else. I've done the CG, or what I call 3D animation, which is what we used to call it, because it's not computer generated. It's artist generated imagery. Anyway, I've done that work. I've been lead compositor. I've been the producer of the visual effects. I've been the visual effects supervisor. I've been the 3D animation supervisor. I've done it all. So I know what to do to make it easier for the team downstream? And so I'm always thinking of that. So putting markers on their face, yeah, absolutely. But is that going to slow down production? Is that going to, and does Zac Efron want markers painted on his face? But so you've got a lot of on-set, human relations that you've got to deal with. It's a lot more complicated than just put markers on the actor's face. But yes, it would make it easier, but sometimes it wouldn't, because now your compositor's got to paint all those out. If the track is good, you can use the track to paint out so it's just a balancing act. Just, take all those things into consideration. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's get done with hand animating the face, going off screen. So it's a little off here. And let's go to that frame. Here's what you can do. Let's go to the pinning toolbar. And I'm going to say create edit pins. And with the create edit pins, I can just drag that over a bit. I can drag this in a little bit. I can drag this up a little bit. And as I do this, you can actually see the mesh moving. I don't want the mesh to be moving. I want the head. There we go. Let's try that again. Make sure you have the right thing selected. So we are going to be pinning the mesh. And we're going to do that. And we're going to do this. Now, as I do this, I don't see my object moving. So that's a problem. Why is that not working? So Shift Z says, I just want to undo up to the point where I've got my object head selected. I'm going to go pin mesh camera object. I can't select. This is always confusing to me. I don't like the way this is designed, but whatever. Let's go back to the previous frame. Let's delete these keyframes. So I can just either hit the minus here, or I can just right click and remove the keyframes. So let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will drop a pin on my nose. Let's lock the mesh. So when you hear beeping like that, that means that the mesh is locked. I want to be doing the object. So this is where I would say pin the object. So you have to, once you drop a pin, then you can change that. It's all pain in the neck. But now if you look in the viewports, you can see the object moving. The mesh is parented to that. You can just drag the pins to kind of reposition things. So you're basically using the pinning tool to animate. And if you ever follow the Boris Effect Discord or the Boris Effect forums, you've probably seen me say this. Another thing I've been saying for years, I want in the GeoH tracker an always solving mode. So it can do this. So I can just grab a tracker, move it around, and it'll just follow the tracker based on my placed points. And then I can just, keyframe these pinning tools. I can't keyframe the pinning tools in Synthesize. Although they work great, but you can't keyframe them. So that's a problem. So let's go forward some more frames. Let's drag this up here. Keying tools. If I had, I could tell you fun stories about how many jobs I have gotten merely because keying tools failed. Keying tools is like, it's one of those tools where it's like, this is the specific thing that it does, and it just fails so often. I hate to speak ill of the dead, but to me, keying tools is dead. So, all right, let's see what we got here. So, keep an eye on your path, keep an eye on your keyframes, and obviously there's a problem there. We need these keyframes to be, the interpolation should be smooth, but that's this is just using the pinning tool is an easy way to hand keyframe your mesh going off screen, because it happens so often. So I'll just hand keyframe it from here. Let's delete that keyframe because we don't need that. And then you can just kind of tweak it into space. So poor keying tools. Okay. Yeah, I can make a whole demo reel of just jobs that we did because keying tools failed. And that goes back to my earlier point of of all of the 3D tracking apps that I would want to use, SynthEyes will never leave you in that situation where you don't have a solution, where you go, oh yeah, I can't track this because the tool's not there. It's not, in SynthEyes, the only complaints I have about SynthEyes are not that the tool isn't there to do it, it's that I want the tool to either work differently or work better, and that's it. So there you go. I think this pretty much covers it. I don't think there's much more to discuss. Let's go back to solid meshes so I can see my head scan. And again, Scaniverse. Remember Scaniverse? Let's turn the Scaniverse track background back on. So this, it registers really well now. So I get my CG environment, I get my my head track, everything is at the right scale. It's all fitting together. This mimics very much like what you would see on a typical movie. And again, if I wasn't doing this as a live stream, which is, who knows how long this is going now, 2 hours. An hour and 37 minutes, I finally found the time. So even if this took you an hour and 37 minutes to do, and you're getting paid your hourly rate, and you had enough work to sustain you, this is that's fast. Even with all this talking I'm doing, that's fast. Hour and 37 minutes. Perfectly good track, nice and smooth. And I'm going to say maybe another hour to smooth things out if I continued to talk and be distracted. But anyway, there you have it. Any more questions? Experience talk. Yeah, it is experience talk, but I've said this too. When it comes to doing the 2D tracking, which I finished in 40 minutes, those ASDF keys, it's a lot like, you're an artist, right? Everybody says, I'm a visual effects artist or whatever. It's the same thing as any other, oh my God, my guitar is so out of tune. It's the same thing as any other tool. You basically have to get good at, forming the chords with your fingers. And so there's a lot of muscle memory, and the musicality. So you get good at the performance. That's the other thing. AI, let's talk about AI again for just a second. I want to see AI pick up a guitar and perform in front of me and improvise something where I can go, yeah, that was musically impressive. Like an athlete. Hey, let's make AI play football. That's how goofy that sounds to me. Why? Why would we have AI do generative football games? It's just that silly. So we pay to watch actors act because they have craft and skill and personality and humanity. And we pay musicians to play their instruments and to write songs for us because of that same humanity and emotion. That's why I'm not interested in AI. So, any other? You don't have any other questions? That's it. Thank you for all you're doing for the community, of course. And I'm doing the live streams because, again, the amount of time it takes for me to write a whole tutorial and then, edit the writing and then record it and then do the sound editing and the color grading, and it just takes too much time. So be careful what you wish for. It might come true sooner than you think. Oh, don't get me started. I believe that actually will happen. I believe that there will be AI football games, and it'll be like, gosh darn it, that's stupid. It's like, competitive gaming, like gamers getting together and, battling each other. And then, having generative AI gaming competition. What? It's silly. Anyway. Keep that in mind. So that's how I feel about AI. When it comes to machine learning and having things to speed up the process for, some of the more mundane things we do, like the roto of in the MaskML tools, those are great. Anyway, esport. But no, it's AI sport. Thank you for joining me. And if you have any other ideas for any questions you might have that are more simple, that I'm not going to spend 3 to 6 hours doing live streams about, please put those in the comments too. I'd be happy to. I'd like to have some shorter, smaller things like that. The first live stream I did, like how to attach a mesh to a tracker. But that's it. Thank you for joining me. I'm not going to play my out-of-tune guitar anymore for you. Oh, it's so out of tune. It's so... I can't... And playing it this... Woof, that's terrible. Oh my god, it's so bad. All right, that's it for me. I am getting out of here. I need to practice my guitar more. All right, bye, everybody.